You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Issue Bill Spriggs, of course, is AFL-CIO economist, formerly head the economics department at Howard University. Bill, this is the problem that I have here with this whole deal. The coronavirus, the whole focus has been driven largely by stock market. It hasn't really been a health issue. Now, all of a sudden, we're seeing the economic ramifications, stock market going down. We wiped out all of the stock market gains since Trump has been president. We're now at the levels when Obama left the White House. We're now seeing unemployment numbers, claims blowing up all across the country. They're talking about a $1 trillion infusion. There are others who are saying, no, this thing is so significant. You're going to have to literally, it could be as high as 5, 10, 15, 20, $30 trillion in terms of sending money directly to the United States, directly to U.S. citizens. I mean, that's the type of situation that we are in because at the core of this bill, we still don't know how big of a problem this is because we have not had massive widespread testing.
Well, we didn't have the testing, so one of the problems is even the steps that have been taken, we don't have a way to evaluate how well they're performing because of that. But this is also an economic issue, and it's an economic issue and a health issue because this is a downturn that's centered around service sector workers. We're shutting down the restaurant and drink establishments. There are 12 million Americans who are employed in food and drinking establishments. That's the size of our manufacturing workforce. So what we've just done is pretty much equivalent to telling every factory in the United States close when you think about how many people are involved. But these are low-wage workers. Most of them do not have paid leave. Many of them have no leave at all. They don't get to take sick days. Many of them have earnings that are too low to meet the earnings test to get unemployment from their state. Many of the states have put up very poor systems for people to access unemployment. So we're talking about a real catastrophe from a health and economic perspective when you look at the frontline workers who are being affected, and think about the frontline health workers that you are hearing are catching the disease because the hospitals and the administrators fought against implementing OSHA regulations that would ensure that workers would have the proper protection. So we're going into this in Washington, D.C. just recently. We had an EMS station where one worker tested positive, and now the rest are under quarantine.
Well, and again, that's where we're struggling in such a huge way. Because what people don't understand, when you talk about this whole issue, what people don't have with those resources, when you listen to the Surgeon General say, call your doctor, what in the hell do you do with the people who don't have doctors? The number of low-income people who, frankly, rely on emergency rooms. Then you have an administration that hated the Affordable Care Act, did everything they could do to knock it down. Then you had Republican states, those governors and legislatures, who didn't want to have Medicaid expansion. And so now what we're seeing right now, we're actually seeing our system being stripped butt naked and exposed for what it is. In a moment, I'm going to talk to Principal Steve Perry and what's happening on the education, because all the people who are saying, shut the schools down, homeschool them, or you can go online. But then you got, South Carolina, they're actually converting 3,000 school buses into mobile Wi-Fi units because guess what? The kids don't have internet. And so you got all these people who are walking around, and I keep telling people, stop assuming because, you're middle class and you've got Wi-Fi in your home and you've got cable and you're able to go to Costco because you got a Costco card. Well, guess what? You got to pay for a damn Costco card. There's a bunch of families who can't even pay for a Costco or a Sam's card, and these people are wondering like, oh, I don't understand what's going on. And so now you have, Bill, calls from people like Mark Cuban. I saw Ali Velshi's show, who was saying this is now, when you have a calamity, Now you deal with your structural issues of inequality. And so from your vantage point, how do we do that? Because if you're now talking about dropping $1 and $2 and $5 trillion directly to Americans, how do we now confront what has been a fundamental problem in this country for decades?
Well, this is one of the big problems. The Senate just finally, this is Wednesday, they finally signed off on the House bill passed last week to make sure that we would have paid sick days. And this is common sense. The people who are serving you food, they're serving you food, and you don't want them to have a paid sick day. You'd rather have them come to work sick than have them stay home. This is the lunacy. But the Senate and the White House fought against paid sick days for all workers. They limited it so that it's only workers if your establishment has more than 50 workers or fewer than 500. So you left out somewhere between 6 and 19 million Americans who are working and still will not have paid sick leave.
But here's the thing, it's crazy, Bill. Okay, so you take, look, I have a small-owned business. That's what this is. I have 12 employees. So the problem is what you just described, we don't qualify for. And if you look at black-owned businesses, there are 2.6 million black-owned businesses in America. 2.5 million only have one employee. And if then look at those 100,000 that have more than one employee, most of them don't have, frankly, more than 10 employees. So when you start talking about how this impacts different sectors, these are people making decisions and you're not dealing with true small businesses in America.
Well, they aren't, except they write out exceptions. Their way of dealing with it is to say, well, we'll exclude you so you won't have to deal with that. But here's the reality. For those small businesses, if you're a restaurant owner and you don't retain your workers and they get let go, when we finally get a hold of the disease, maybe 9 months from now, everything we hope will be back to normal if we're doing the right steps now. Where are you going to find your workers? You let them go. The number one thing is to provide paid sick leave to paid leave for these workers so that they stay attached to their employer so that when things resume, the employer isn't going around saying, now I got to recruit a whole new workforce in order to get myself up and running. Right. This is for the business's protection as much as it is for the workers' protection.
Is this also time, Bill? Is this also time to also deal with the fact that you have a lot of these major companies? Again, I'm going to pull an Ali Velshi tweet up in a second where he said, where you have a lot of these CEOs who are making 220 times what an average worker is earning, and now all of a sudden, everybody, Bill, is lining up for a bailout. Airline industry. But Boeing wants a $60 billion bailout when, in fact, Boeing's problem really had to do with the 737 MAX. And so we know what that game is. Now, hotel industry. I was seeing a story where the hotel union said some 700,000 people who work for hotels could be out of jobs. Marriott instituting massive layoffs. We can go down the line. You got Sheldon Adelson, these casinos who want to bail out. I'm sorry, Sheldon Adelson, you're worth $31 billion. Bail your own ass out.
Well, this is the thing. In fairness, it's okay for them to get the bailout as long as, and number one, as long as it's to make sure that the employees stay employed, as long as the workers are getting a paycheck. This is the key issue. So in the airline case in 2001, because of 9/11 and the disruption to air traffic, we bailed out the airlines. What did they do? Many of them immediately went into bankruptcy, got rid of their union contracts, got rid of retirement. Workers got nothing. They didn't look out for the workers of the airline industry. And so the airlines are back again, and now they're asking for another bailout, no strings attached.
No, I'm sorry. No, this is where you have to have members of Congress with integrity who say this bill is not going to go forward unless you're protecting workers. If you're Nancy Pelosi, if you're Steny Hoyer, if you're Jim Clyburn, if you're any of them, I don't expect the Republicans to do any of this, but somebody has to say, no. We are not like, nope, not going to happen again. We're not going to bail these folks out who, again, are screwing the American people. And what they want to do is tide themselves over and, bank that money. I'm sorry, that dog ain't going to hunt.
Well, it shouldn't. And as you mentioned, retailers now want a bailout. And fairness, again, in the public interest, we've asked them, please don't open up. Please don't do that. Walmart is the biggest employer in the United States, well over 500 employees. They're the number one group in front of Congress saying, make sure that the paid sick days do not apply to us. These are billionaires, the richest people on the planet, the Walton family. And they're saying, no, we don't want legislation that gives paid sick leave to everybody. And in fact, they accused Congress and the labor unions, oh, you're just using this emergency to get the paid sick days that you've always been arguing for. But we've been arguing for them because we went through H1N1 flu in 2009. We thought we learned our lesson. We didn't. So here we are again at the last minute trying to cobble together common sense policy approaches.
Bill Spriggs, we'll be talking to you a lot more over the next several weeks as we sort of sort this thing out, what is happening economically all across this country. Again, the actions Congress take will go a long way to fixing the system, and so we'll see what happens. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Let's hope that they do focus on workers, because the people who are being hurt are the low-wage workers that normally get ignored by everybody whenever there's economic policy.
All right, Bill Spriggs, we appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
All right, folks, back to our Roland Martin Unfiltered video in just one moment.
All right, so a lot of y'all are always asking me about some of the pocket squares that I wear. Now, Robert don't have one on. Nope. Now, I don't particularly like the white pocket squares. I don't like even the silk ones. And so I was reading GQ magazine a number of years ago, and I saw this guy who had this pocket square here, and it looks like a flower. This is called a shibori pocket square. This is how the Japanese manipulate the fabric to create this sort of flower effect. So I'm going to take it out and then place it in my hand so you see what it looks like. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so I tracked down, it took me a year to find a company that did it. And so they make these about 47 different colors. And so I love them because, again, as men, we don't have many accessories to wear, so we don't have many options. And so this is really a pretty cool pocket square. Now, what I love about this here is you saw when it's in the pocket, it gives you that flower effect like that. But if I wanted to also, because if I flip it and turn it over, it actually gives me a different type of texture. And so therefore it gives me a different look. So there you go. So if you actually want to get one of these shibori pocket squares, we have them in 47 different colors. All you got to do is go to rolandmartin.com/pocket squares. All right, so first of all, that graphic is way too small. So tomorrow we're going to run it right down here all across the screen. So it's rolandmartin.com/pocket squares. All you got to do is go to my website and you can actually get this. Now, for those of you who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club, there's a discount for you to get our pocket squares. That's why you also got to be a part of our Bring the Funk fan club. And so that's what we want you to do. And so it's pretty cool. So if you want to jazz your look up, you can do that. In addition, y'all see me with some of the feather pocket squares. My sister, who's a designer, she actually makes these. They're all custom made. So when you also go to the website, you can also order one of the customized feather pocket squares right there at rolandmartin.com/pocket squares. So please do so. And of course, it goes to support the show. And again, if you're a Bring the Funk fan club member, you get a discount. This is why you should join the fan club.
Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.